Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to take you on a journey to a particularly turbulent period in our history where contemporary falsified historical description hides genocide of epic proportions, but where at the same time some individuals clearly emerge from history as military geniuses and national heroes. Before diving into this historical episode, I would like to take the opportunity to thank the auction company Roman Numismatics in London for the use of the high-quality images and for allowing me to film auction items in connection with their auction viewing in London. 52 BC saw the final clash between the two main antagonists of the Gallic Wars, namely between the Gallic coalition led by the chieftain Vercingetorix and the Roman Republic's warlord Julius Caesar. The siege of Alesia and Julius Caesar's innovative siege tactics ultimately resulted in Gaul losing its independent status and being annexed as a Roman province. Between 58 and 50 BC, Julius Caesar conquered Gaul. This achievement was indeed amazing, as the Romans did not possess any great superiority in military strength, and the Gallic cavalry was probably superior to the Roman. Rome's military superiority lay in the mastery of strategy, tactics, and discipline and military engineering. In Gaul, Rome also had the advantage of being able to deal separately with dozens of relatively small, independent, and uncooperative tribes, and they were conquered one at a time. Julius Caesar's book about the Gallic Wars, Commentari de Bello Gallico, which translates to Commentaries on the Gallic War, is a first-hand account of Caesar's campaigns in Gaul and is written in the third person. It is considered to be a valuable historical source for the period and provides insight into Caesar's military strategies and tactics. The war was not a picnic in the park, and his troops committed acts of cruelty resulting in the deaths of many Gauls. Julius Caesar did not keep an exact count of the number of killed or enslaved during the Gallic Wars. However, in his own written account of the conquest of Gaul, Caesar claimed to have killed over 1 million people and enslaved 1 million more. However, it is worth noting that Caesar's own accounts of the Gallic Wars may be exaggerated for propaganda purposes and is probably not entirely accurate. In the winter of 53 BC, after a failed Belgian rebellion, many of the Gaulish tribes conspired to revolt against Rome. The tribe of the Carnutes stirred up this insurrection. They acted first by massacring the civilian Roman population living in the Roman trade colony of Cenabum, modern Orleans in France. Julius Caesar, in his Commentaries on the Gallic War, reported that the whole of Cenabum was plundered and burnt. A great number of Roman citizens were slain. Hearing about this uprising and slaughter of Roman citizens, Caesar with his troops rushed back from Italy at great speed. When he arrived outside Cenabum with his army, he immediately launched a full-scale assault on the town. The Roman legions, armed with their standard weapons and tactics, quickly overwhelmed the Gallic defenders. The town was looted and burned, and its inhabitants were either killed or enslaved. Ancient sources, such as Caesar's own Commentaries of the Gallic War, provide some details of the battle, and it is clear that it was brutal and a devastating event. Caesar himself describes the town being burned to the ground and plundered. Some estimates suggest that thousands of Gauls may have been killed or enslaved in the aftermath of the attack. The event had a significant impact on the Gallic people living in the region and served as an example that it was pointless to resist the Romans. The new leader of the Gallic rebellion, Vercingetorix, a very capable political and military thinker, understood that an open engagement against the battle-hardened legions of Caesar would be strategically unwise and almost suicidal. To make the supply and maintenance of the advancing Roman troops more difficult, he therefore responded with a scorched earth policy, ordering that every unfortified Gallic town, hamlet and homestead to be burned down and destroyed. He retreated with his army to Avaricum, modern-day Berks in France, and camped outside the settlement. The siege of Avaricum, which lasted for more than a month in March and April 52 BC, was the first major clash between Julius Caesar and Vercingetorix. The city was a major Gallic stronghold and well defended by thick and high walls. Upon his arrival, Caesar began the construction and fortifications and to build siege engines of various kinds, such as siege towers and battering rams. The Gaul defended the city fiercely, but Caesar's troop eventually breached the walls and captured the city. The Romans then looted and burned Avaricum to the ground. Caesar took no prisoners and claims that they killed 40,000 Gauls. Caesar justifies this action by saying that he wanted to prevent the Gauls from using Avaricum as a base for future attacks. The various denarii and the aureus depicting Julius Caesar in this video are all struck somewhat later, after the Gallic War ended. The denarius depicting a Gallic warrior has been debated whether it is Vercingetorix or not depicted, but in any case it is an iconic coin type and associated with Vercingetorix and the Gallic Wars. That the Gallic coalition did not fall apart despite this catastrophic defeat is a testament to the leadership of Vercingetorix, who now withdrew to Gergovia, the capital of his own tribe, the Arverni, which he obviously was eager to defend. Caesar arrived as the weather warmed and the fodder finally became available, which somewhat eased the supply issues. As usual, Caesar applied the textbook siege tactics and promptly set about building a fortification for the Romans. However, the siege quickly turned into stalemate as Caesar's forces were unable to breach the town's defenses. The battle then turned into a full-scale engagement as both sides clashed into a series of fierce skirmishes and battles around Gergovia. The Gallic warriors fighting on their home ground were able to take advantage of the terrain and launch devastating attacks on the Roman army. Despite their numerical superiorities, Caesar's forces were unable to make any significant gains and suffered heavy losses. Realizing that the battle was lost, Caesar decided to withdraw his army and abandon the siege. The Battle of Gergovia was a significant defeat for the Romans and a major victory for the Gauls, who were able to repel the Roman invasion and maintain their independence for a few more months. The battle also demonstrated the tactical and strategical abilities of Vercingetorix, who emerged as a powerful leader and a formidable opponent to Caesar's ambitions in Gaul. In the wake of the battle, Caesar retreated from the Arverni lands and, at the same time, Caesar's general Labienus had finished his campaign in the north and marched back to join forces with Caesar. After linking up with Labienus' forces, Caesar marched his united army to confront Vercingetorix's victorious Gallic forces once again. As Caesar's army advanced, they encountered the Gaulish army, who had established a defensive position along the Vincennes River near the modern-day town of Dijon in France. Despite being outnumbered, the Gauls were well prepared for battle and had dug deep trenches to defend their position. However, Caesar was able to rally his troops and break through the Gaulish lines and causing the Gauls to retreat. The Romans pursued the retreating Gauls, inflicting heavy casualties and capturing several enemy warriors. The Battle of Vincennes was a significant victory for Julius Caesar and marked the beginning of the end for the Gaulish resistance in the Gallic Wars. With his cavalry routed, Vercingetorix withdrew towards the heavily fortified hilltop city of Alesia. After the poor Roman performance at Gergovia, a direct assault on the Gauls was no longer a viable option. Thus, Caesar simply decided to besiege the settlement and starve out the defenders. Vercingetorix, he was just fine with this, as he intended to use Alesia as a trap to conduct a pincer attack on the Romans. He had already sent messages around Gaul to rally the tribes to war and come to Alesia. However, Vercingetorix likely did not expect the intensity of the Roman siege preparations. Over a span of a month, some 25 miles of fortifications were built. They included a trench for soldiers and anti-cavalry moat, towers at regular intervals, and booby traps in front of the trenches. The fortifications were dug in two lines, one to protect from the defenders and one to protect from the arrival of the Gallic relief forces. The food supply of the population of Alicia and the 80,000 soldiers it hosted could not last long. Vercingetorix ordered all the grain to be brought to him and rationed it. Due to the shortage of food, it was decided that the old and sick should leave the town. The inhabitants of the town also sent out their wives and children to save food for the fighters, hoping that Caesar would take them as captives and feed them. However, Caesar forbade their being admitted to his fortification, and Vercingetorix left his people out between the fortifications to starve to death. Meanwhile, the Gallic relief force arrived and attacked the outer Roman fortifications, and the besieged Gauls, led by Vercingetorix, simultaneously attacked the inner Roman fortifications. However, this combined attack was unsuccessful. After multiple attacks and fierce battles, the Gauls realized that they could not overcome the truly impressive Roman siege works. At this point, it became clear that the Romans would be able to outlast the defenders and that their revolt was doomed. The relieving army melted away. Finally, when all hope was gone, and many of his people were starving or dead, Vercingetorix surrendered and threw down his arms at the feet of Julius Caesar. Vercingetorix was taken prisoner and held as a captive in Rome for the next 5 years, awaiting Caesar's triumph, which was delayed by the civil war. As was traditional for such captured enemy leaders, he was paraded in the triumph, then taken to the Tullianum and ritually garroted in 46 BC. Alicia proved to be the end of the organized resistance against Caesar's invasion of Gaul and effectively marked the end of the Gallic Wars. In the next coming years, there were just minor mopping-up operations. For Caesar, Alicia was an enormous personal success, both military and politically. Caesar portrayed the invasion as being a preemptive and defensive action, but historians agree that he fought the wars primarily to boost his political career and to pay off his debts. Julius Caesar's Gallic War is one of history's most extensive ethnic cleansings and genocides, which we mostly study today as a historical, interesting episode in the development of the Roman Empire, where Julius Caesar is also often portrayed as a successful strategist worth studying at the military academies around the world. Little attention has been devoted to the enormous atrocities that which the Gallic population was subjected to during the war. Several coins were issued by Julius Caesar after the Gallic Wars and during the Civil War, depicting Gallic warriors as typical symbols of his military success and skill as a commander. The coins were the Roman way of distributing propaganda, and the message was clear. Beware of me, Julius Caesar, victorious and invincible, leader of battle-hardened veterans from many years of successful campaigning in many parts of the empire, such as Britannia, Gaul, Hispania, and beyond. Either you are with me, or you can expect utterly defeat, brutal death, and you and your relatives will lose their properties and fortunes. The most iconic coin type, struck in 48 BC by the monarch Hostilius Saserna, is depicting a Gallic warrior in typical waxed flowing hair. It could be argued that this is the image of the Gallic chieftain Vercingetorix, but there is no hard evidence to support this fact. By collecting ancient Roman coins, you get an interesting insight into the conditions of the ancient times. The coin is a veritable time machine that takes you on a journey over 2,000 years back in time. Few ancient objects are as precisely dateable as the Roman coins, which makes them extra interesting as storytellers and the establishment of accurate chronology of historical events. And the best of all, these coins in more normal grades are affordable collectibles for most people. I hope you find this video interesting, and to help others with a historical and or numismatic interest watch this video, please like, share, comment and subscribe. It is free to subscribe and you don't commit to anything, nor will you receive any unwanted emails or offers from me. And you can, whenever you want, end your subscription. By subscribing, liking and sharing, you help YouTube's and Google's algorithms to rank up this video and thus make it easier for others with a similar interest to view this video. Also, make sure to hit the notification bell to get notified when I publish new video on YouTube. Thank you for watching.